According to the Code of Federal Regulations, terrorism is defined as the unlawful use of force and violence against persons or properties to intimidate or coerce a government, the civilian population, or any segment thereof in furtherance of political or social objectives. The National Liberation Army originated from Colombia. They conduct military operations throughout rural and mountainous areas of North, Northeast, and Southwest Colombia, as well as the Venezuela border and regions. The ELN is a Cuban Revolution-inspired group heavily influenced by the early actions and theories of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Their unique founding philosophy strongly emphasized socialism, mixing Castroism with the liberation theology of the Catholic Church. The ELN's self-appointed role was to represent the rural poor and decrease the foreign presence in Colombia. Its goal is to take power from the Colombian government and replace it with a more egalitarian, popular democracy that would represent all Colombians equally under the law. They strongly oppose foreign investment, in part due to its location in an oil-rich area and its connections to trade unionists in the energy sector. Throughout its history, the National Liberation Army steadily gravitated towards violence and armed struggle as a means to attain a socialist Colombia. Their ideology is Marxism, liberation theology, and national liberation. At the ELN's 1996 National Conference, the group decided to decrease emphasis on creating a purely socialist Colombia. Instead, the ELN has returned to its founding objective, popular democracy for all Colombians at the local level. However, the ELN has not given up the use of violence in its efforts. The group was originally founded by Fabio Vázquez Castaño, who along with his brother and other relatives initially held important spots within the National Liberation Army of Colombia. Attracted by the liberation theology, Father Camilo Torres Restrepo was a well-known university professor of Marxist leanings who joined the group with the intention of putting such radical ideas into practice inside a revolutionary environment. During his first combat with the ELN, Torres died but remained as an important symbol for the group as a whole. El Cura Perez from Spain, along with current leader Nicolas Rodriguez Bautista, assumed joint leadership in the early 1970s. Perez's major role within the National Liberation Army of Colombia was to shape the group's ideology, which now calls for a Christian and communist solution to the country's corruption, poverty and political exclusion problems through guerrilla activity, and conventional warfare. Many have observed that ever since Perez died in 1998, the movement may have begun to lose focus regarding its concerns of winning over the population with their unity of revolutionary activities with Christian and social action. The kidnapping and extortion of oil company employees is ELN's primary source of income. This is a natural legacy of ELN's formation in an area rich with oil wells and oil companies. A third more recent resource of income is the collection of a property tax from coca and poppy cultivators. It is not known whether the collection of property taxes is a centralized or decentralized activity.
It's just guns in my face. I thought I was being robbed. If I had to say what was the worst moment of my life, that was that moment. It's a pretty powerful situation when you believe that you're going to die in the next few seconds. Colombia had been listed as the kidnapping capital of the world at that time. I would always ask the people that I met, what about the safety situation? It was the cab drivers that said, the kidnappings are up. But they couldn't really tell me any specifics. I'd stop in a cafe to sit and talk with the students.
Is it safer to be on a bike, would you say, than a car?
Yeah, sure. You know, they look for people who look wealthy, and you don't look wealthy at all. Just don't stop, you know?
¡Párate! ¡Párate! Pero no, mira.
And then it's just guns in my face.
Bájese de la moto, bájese de la moto, bájese de la moto. Ahora,
Got my hands up. I'm trying to be as cooperative as possible.
bájate de la moto.
They had some rickety old peasant bus stopped. I thought I was being robbed.
Bájate!
One guy that seemed like he was in control there, they ordered me off the bike. And so I'm standing there with my hands up, and they're yelling and screaming.
Ropa, ropa.
They open up my saddlebags and they're yelling ropa, ropa, and that means clothes. At this point, I think, well, this is just a robbery, and I'm actually doing mental calculations. Well, I can buy that again, I can get this, I can get that, and, you know, be cool and don't argue with these guys.
Y ahora, sácate el casco. ¡Sácate el casco! ¡Vamos!
After about 15 minutes, they stop and they were like on a radio chat. They're going, Santander, Santander.
Santander, Santander, aló, número uno.
You can imagine how fast your mind is spinning around like this.
Ya lo llevamos. Estamos cerca.
When I said, ¿Quiénes ustedes? You know, who are you guys?
Silencio. Correcto.
Who are you?
That's when he turned around and he got his face right up to mine and he screamed at me.
ELN, Ejército de Liberación Nacional.
And when he said ELN, I went, ugh, I just got this horrible feeling. Chills went down my spine. And I was already in about the worst situation I could imagine. When they said ELN, then I knew it was a rebel group.
The Colombian Department of Administrative Security estimates that in 1998 alone, the ELN obtained $84 million from ransoms and $255 million from extortion. Employees of oil companies constitute a large percentage of the ELN's targets. The citizens of Colombia are the ones who are mainly affected by the dealings of the National Liberation Army. These actions can be avoided with talks of peace. Although talk of peace has happened between Colombia and the ELN already, no change has come of it.